Good morning. This is my first Deacon message, and I hope you enjoy the reading from Jesus, the God Who Knows Your Name by Max Lucado. Born to a mother, acquainted with physical pain, enjoys a good party, rejected by friends, unfairly accused, love stories, reluctantly pays taxes, sings, turned off by greedy religion, feels sorry for the lonely, unappreciated by siblings, stands up for the underdog, kept awake at night by concerns, known to doze off in the midst of trips, accused of being too rowdy, afraid of death. Who am I describing? Jesus or you, perhaps? Perhaps both. Based on this list, it seems you and I have a lot in common with Jesus. Big deal? I think so. Jesus understands you. He understands small town anatomy and big city pressure. He's walked through the pastures of sheep and places of kings. He's faced hunger, sorrow, and death, and wants to face them with you. Jesus understands our weakness, for he faced all of the same testings we do, yet he did not sin. In Jesus' understanding our weakness, then so does God. Jesus was God in human form. He was God with us. That is why Jesus is called Emmanuel. Emmanuel appears in the same Hebrew form as it did 2,000 years ago. A mammal means with us. El refers to Olam, or God. So Emmanuel is not an above us God, or a somewhere in the neighborhood God. He came as the with us God. God with us, not God with the rich or God with the religious, but God with us, all of us. Russians, Germans, Buddhists, Mormons, truck drivers and taxi drivers, librarians, God with us. Don't we love the word with? With you, go with me. We ask, to the store, to the hospital, through my life. God says he will. I am with you always. Jesus said before he ascended to heaven, to the very end of the age, search for restriction on the promise. You'll find none. You won't find, I'll be with you if you behave, or when you believe. I'll be with you on Sundays, in worship, at Mass. No, none of what? That's not withholding tax on God, wish, promise. He is with us. God is with us. Prophets weren't enough. Apostles wouldn't do. Angels won't suffice. God sent more than miracles and messages. He sent himself. He sent his Son. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. For thousands of years, God gave us his voice. Prior to Bethlehem, he gave us his messages, his teachers, his words. But in the manger, God gave us himself. Extraordinary, don't you think? I imagine even Gabriel scratched his head at the idea of God with us. Gabriel wasn't one to question his God-given missions. Sending fire and dividing seas were all in an eternity's work for this angel. When God sent, Gabriel went. And when word got out that God was to become a human, Gabriel was no doubt enthused. He could envision the moment, the Messiah in a blazing chariot, the King descending on a fiery cloud, an explosion of light from which the Messiah would emerge. That's surely what he expected. What he never expected, however, was that he got a slip of paper with a Nazarene address. God will become a baby, it read. Tell the mother to name the child Jesus, and tell her not to be afraid. Gabriel was never one to question, but this time he had to wonder. God will become a baby? Gabriel had seen babies before. He had been platoon leader of a bullish operation, he remembered, with little Moses looked like. That's okay for humans, he thought to himself, but for God? The heavens can't contain him. How could a baby? Besides, have you seen what comes out of these babies? Hardly befitting the creator of the universe. Babies must be carried and fed, bounced and bathed. Some mother burping God on her shoulder? Why, that was beyond what even an angel could imagine. And what of this name? What was it? Jesus? Such a common name. There's a Jesus in every cul-de-sac. Come on, even the name Gabriel has more punch to it than Jesus. Call the baby eminence or majesty or heaven sent, anything but Jesus. So Gabriel scratched his head. What happened to good old days? Global floods, flaming swords, that's the action he liked. But Gabriel had his orders, took the message to Mary. Must be a special girl, he assumed as he traveled. But Gabriel was in for another shock. One peek told him Mary was no queen. The mother-to-be of God was not regal. She was a Jewish peasant who barely outgrown her acne and had a crush on a guy named Joe. After speaking of Joe, what does this fellow know? Might as well be a weaver in Spain or a cobbler in Greece. He's a carpenter. Look at him over there, sawdust in his beard and a nail apron around his waist. You're telling me that God is going to have dinner every night with him? You're telling me that the source of wisdom is going to call this guy Dad? You're telling me that a common laborer is going to be charged with providing food to God? What if he gets laid off? What if he gets cranky? What if he decides to run off with a pretty young girl from down the street? Then where will we be? It was all Gabriel could do to keep from turning back. This is a peculiar idea you have, God, he must have murmured to himself. But he followed through. He wasn't about to rebel against his boss, and who always happened to control the universe. He visited Mary and told her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Jesus." The story of Jesus begins with the story of a great descent. The Son of God became the child of Mary. He became one of us, so we might become one with him. He entered our world in the high hope that we will enter his. Bye for now.